How's it going, guys? Welcome to the East Blue Nation. Today we will be talking about the One Piece live action series, specifically the entire series ending and how it will go about. I read an article that talked about the ending of One Piece, the live action, and on that article they spoke about how it will end completely different from the ending in the manga, and that was pretty concerning. And they talk about how because of the length of One Piece, they don't believe it's possible to actually have the same ending, but I do think that it is. The number one concern is that by the time the live action gets near its end, that One Piece the manga is still running and has not ended yet. But being one of the people that reads the manga, I do understand that we are in the final stages of One Piece, and it is very possible that we could get an ending to One Piece the manga before we get an ending to the One Piece live action series. However, one thing is that Netflix is notorious for ending successful series on their platform early. A lot of their shows get 3 seasons or less, even if they're successful, like Squid Games, which is ending with season 3. And then we have shows like Stranger Things, wildly popular. However, they've only gotten 5 seasons. Netflix's longest running series is the show called Virgin River, and they have 7 seasons. And that show doesn't require a lot of budget for filming because it's one of those shows that doesn't have a lot of special effects. One Piece is heavy on the editing, heavy on the special effects, heavy on the stunts. The producers of One Piece once said that they were trying to go for 12 seasons. And if they go for 12 seasons, that's a pretty costly bill for Netflix, unless the people demand it and they gain more popularity and more users to Netflix, which I hope is the case. The article speaks about how one of the possible things that could happen is that Netflix could create their own ending to the One Piece live action series. If that's the case, I wonder how they're going to set it up. What kind of ending? It could be a very simple ending like Luffy fighting against the main villain, which would be introduced by then and becoming the Pirate King, Zoro fighting Mihawk and becoming the greatest swordsman. Just everything very simple, straightforward. Sanji finding the All Blue, which happens to be very close by, and so on. It wouldn't get as complex as the manga is, and I do believe that certain complex aspects of the One Piece manga and the anime would not even be introduced into the live action. So that way they don't have to take those routes. And I wonder if we're going to see some of that beginning towards season 2 that we're going to get soon, because they have to build the roots for what they're building, and these are a bunch of roads that they're taking and certain storylines that have to go certain ways to get to that end. And maybe Netflix is setting up different roads for us to see that makes sense. Where do you think is a good place for One Piece the live action series to end, and how many seasons do you think they should get? I think they're going to be more in the neighborhood of 4 or 5 or possibly 6 seasons if it's very successful. Make sure to click the like button if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the East Blue Nation, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.